And now, words of wisdom with Adam Carriker.
Robert Griffin's touchdown pass to Santana Claus in the third quarter was as pretty as Kim Kardashian after thousands of dollars worth of plastic surgery.
And welcome to Fourth and Pain, the only pro wrestling show to be hosted by an NFL player, a weight loss champion. He's Redskins defensive end Adam Carriker.
Word.
I'm former wrestling announcer turned weight loss champion Chuck Carroll. This here is First Down on Fourth and Pain. And be sure to follow us on Twitter at Fourth and Pain, like us on Facebook, and whatever else you do. Have lunch with us each and every weekday, high noon Eastern, fourthandpain.com. Brand new content. Adam Carriker, 27-20. The Washington Redskins are winners. How about that?
They look pretty good. RG3 played well, played through the injury. They look pretty good.
Well, I tell you what, let's bring on a very special guest to help us talk about that. Friend of the show, a guy that helped us get our very own start. Chad Dukes, how are you, sir?
Great to talk to you guys, especially after a weekend where the Cowboys lose, the Eagles lose, the Giants getting shellacked by the Baltimore Ravens, and the Redskins going with a big victory. It's a great Sunday.
It is a glorious weekend.
And we're in new waters here today, boys, because typically, Chad, when we have you on, we're talking about all things wrestling, and I have a natural, just an inclination that we're going to wind there at some point today, but right now we're going to talk about this Washington Redskins team. Chad, rattling off 6 wins in a row. Huge game now next Sunday against the Dallas Cowboys. Do the Redskins, well, it's not even do they make the playoffs at this point. Chad, flat out, how deep are they going to go?
That's funny. It's funny you bring that up, Chuck, because I had that conversation today while watching the game because look, anybody that watched the Cowboys today should be concerned about Des Bryant because the Redskins have given up big plays to wide receivers all year long. But if you want to talk about momentum, if you want to talk about a team that looks like it's on a roll, you're not picking the Dallas Cowboys unless you're ESPN and you're obsessed with the Dallas Cowboys. You're picking the Washington Redskins. I mean, everybody wants to play down to the Eagles and say, well, that's not a quality win. Go on the road to the Link against a rookie quarterback that's 6'6", has everything in the world to fight for, and really not even play your best game. They're not even play the best game you've had in the past 2 or 3 or 4 weeks and still come away with a victory, sweep that team, have an opportunity to sweep the Dallas Cowboys. You just can't give enough credit in the world to this coaching staff and this team because, your co-host there, Adam Carriker, we had him on our show on Friday to lose him, to lose a Rockpo, to lose all the guys from the secondary, just guys that are, just rocks on this team, and to still be in this position is just unbelievable.
I couldn't agree more. Adam, I mean, seriously, it's got to be just like killing you to not be on the field with these guys right now.
I've tried to keep my feelings to myself regarding that. I finally said something on Twitter today that drives me nuts, sitting here watching the games, not being able to participate, not being able to help. I am enjoying and I am loving immensely the games and how they're going and how my boys are out there playing. But it's rough. It's rough just sitting there not being able to contribute.
All right, so Chad, now we've talked about the Washington Redskins moving forward, but let's talk a little bit about Robert Griffin III. Comes out, returning from that knee injury, goes 16 of 24 passes for a $198, sacked only one time, but a couple of touchdown passes and a passer rating, again, north of 100. In your opinion, how limited was he by that sprained knee, Chad?
I don't know what you saw, Chuck, but he looked extremely limited to me. I mean, it looked like he first of all didn't have any of his speed. I liked a portion of it. I actually enjoyed because there was times when I thought he ran out of bounds when maybe if he was 100% healthy, he would have turned it upfield. But what you got a chance to see is Robert Griffin III somewhat playing the quarterback position in a traditional manner. I know they were still running that read option. I know that he still had a couple of keepers. But, I mean, that throw to Santana Moss is a Peyton Manning throw. It's a Tom Brady throw. It's everything you want your quarterback to be, whether or not he can run or not. So while I noticed that he wasn't himself and he wasn't completely comfortable, I thought it was almost a blessing in disguise because he showed us on a couple of throws just what type of pocket passer he can be if that, the necessity calls for that.
Well, my question, though, is obviously this is a reeling Philadelphia Eagles team, and if he's still hampered by this knee injury next week against the Dallas Cowboys, arguably a much more difficult opponent, is that going to pose more of a problem at that point, him playing the more traditional role and not getting out of the pocket and being able to run up and down the field as he typically does?
I would have maybe a couple weeks ago I would have said that, but they rolled the Cowboys up so hard in the first half on Thanksgiving night, Thanksgiving afternoon in front of the entire nation. And the running game is just unbelievable. I'm sure you guys have touched on this and will touch on this. But Alfred Morris, if Griffin isn't on this team, he's in the conversation, not only for Rookie of the Year, but maybe MVP. He's looking at breaking records, and his attitude is just so wonderful, and he's so tremendous off the field. And that offensive line, it looks to me, just loves blocking for him. So even if Griffin, can't run a 4.240, I still like his ability to pass, and I love their running game, man. I just think that their offense now is good, whether or not Griffin is going to run for 100 yards a game or not.
And Alfred Morris just had himself a heck of a second half. We're speaking with Chad Dukes here on Fourth and Payne. And speaking of Alfred Morris, 22 rushes, 91 yards. But, Chad, here's the thing. Entering halftime, he only had 18 rushing yards. They made a whole heck of adjustment to get him some more opportunities in the second half. But the Redskins offensive line, for the first time this season, did not have Tyler Columbus. What did you see out of Maurice Hurt? Is this offensive line going to be an issue moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, it is. It's going to be an issue. I think that they've been doing an admirable job this year. I think the continuity, the fact they were playing together the entire season helped. I think Chris Chester is an unsung hero for this team. Trent Williams now playing like, the all-pro that we all hoped that he would be. But yeah, Chuck, I do think it's going to be a problem moving forward, and it's something they're going to have to address in the offseason, that right tackle position. Jamal Brown's not it. Tyler Columbus, he gives you some good depth. I give Mo Hurt all the credit in the world, but I think we all know that that's not going to be their strongest point of their offensive line. And I think that moving forward, the more they can run the ball, what you just said, the more that they can get Alfred Morris, they can adjust their game plan and get him involved. We all know, and Adam knows this, offensive linemen would rather run block over pass block 1,000 times out of 1,000. If they can keep the game close and keep the running game involved, I think that's going to just help everybody.
And Adam, real quick, before we shift our attention to the national level and start talking a little bit about MVPs, what are some of your takeaways from the game? What is your big takeaway? What is it that you're most looking forward to heading into next week against Dallas?
Oh, the big thing I'll take away is Rob Jackson making plays, Kerrigan getting 3 sacks, Barry Cofield was all over the place making plays. It's like I talked about when I was on the show with Chad and LeVar on Friday, the fact that this defense has had time to work together. Now you saw Jenks in the backfield making plays. They're starting to work as a cohesive unit, and they're starting to play a lot better, and they're starting to force a lot of turnovers. I believe they're in the top 5 in turnovers forced.
And my last takeaway is a big shout out to the TV crew at Fox for getting a fantastic shot of London Fletcher vomiting on the sidelines today.
I missed that.
Merry Christmas.
Darn,
to
I
one
missed
and all.
out.
Definitely saw that lunch come back up. This is Fourth and Payne, First Down Monday edition. We are speaking with Chad Dukes. And boys, with the capper now on the Redskins, we're going to turn our attention nationally here. We got a few minutes left. So I'm just curious. I'm going to throw this out there to both of you. MVP of the NFL this season. Who is it going to be? You've got Peyton Manning out there. You've got Adrian Peterson out there. Who is it, in your opinion, that deserves this title? Chad, we'll start with you as the guest.
I would normally defer to Adam since, he actually plays the game. But just as an outsider looking in, I don't know how you can't give it to Peyton Manning, just for all the different reasons. The fact that his team has the record that they do, the fact that we didn't even know if he'd be able to, LeVar was on our radio show saying he didn't know if Peyton Manning would ever play again, much less play at this level. The fact that we had all the reports of him going to get stem cell injections overseas and just all of that, and for him to go to a new team with new receivers and a whole new deal, and to be able to perform the way that he has. No disrespect to Adrian Peterson. I think that Luck and Griffin, I think you could make an argument for several different players to be in the running, and if any of them won it, I'd be fine. I just don't know how you look at Peyton Manning at the age that he's at and what he's already accomplished in the league and say you're not the MVP this year. I just couldn't do it.
Yeah, he actually said what I was going to say. I was going to throw a wrench out there and say, what about Robert Griffin? Right. I mean, they've been looking for a quarterback around here for years and years. He comes in, and all of a sudden there's a big difference. There's a lot of other guys playing well. Kirk came in and played well when he got hurt. But actually, my pick is Adrian Peterson. He's close to breaking Eric Dickerson's all-time rushing record. A week from now, he could have it. At one point, while coming into this weekend, I don't know if he's still I haven't looked at the stats yet, but coming into this weekend, he averaged more yards per carry than Christian Ponder was averaging yards per attempt.
Wow.
Which tells me he's just carrying the team. I mean, he's just putting them on his back, and he's just doing everything. I remember watching him being helped off the field at FedEx Field last year. His leg was just hanging. It was dangling after the tackle that DJ made. Clean tackle. But I was like, I don't know if this dude will be able to play next year. And he's back, and he's running bigger, better than ever. And the other thing is, and I heard this said on one of the national shows, I believe it was First Take, Tim Tebow and Peyton Manning. To me, Tebow did what Peyton Manning's doing. Tebow did it a lot uglier. He did it with not as good a team, in my opinion, because the defense isn't playing as well. And he took them from 1-5 to a playoff winning team, winning a game in the playoffs. So to me, that diminishes just a tad what Peyton Manning did, although what he has done has been remarkable.
Well, is it safe then to assume that one of these players will win Comeback Player of the Year and the other will get the MVP?
What do you think, Jad?
Yeah, I mean, that's what I said this past week. I said you can give one of the awards, one the other. I just look at the record. I look at, no disrespect to what Tebow did, but, watching that, I think it was all smoke and mirrors, and the NFL adjusted as it always does. And that's what I was worried about with Griffin, to circle back to what you're talking about, Adam, with Robert Griffin III. If the Redskins end up winning the NFC East, and they want to give the MVP to Robert Griffin III, you'd be insane to argue with that, because it's not the best player in the league. It's the most valuable player. And, guys, I don't know how you feel, but I'd be hard-pressed to find a long list of players that mean more to their team than Robert Griffin III does for the Washington Redskins.
Well, you could say that, but then, of course, Kirk Cousins comes out against the Cleveland Browns and does big things. They still get the victory there, but I see exactly where you're going. It's just an interesting debate. It really is interesting.
Is Kirk Cousins your MVP?
Hell no, not compared to RG3.
Who's your MVP?
You must be crazy.
We got about 45 seconds.
Who's
your
my
MVP?
I got to go with Peyton. I really do.
All right.
What he's been able to do for that Denver Broncos franchise and turn it around like that has really been remarkable. But, Chad, we are really fresh out of time. We greatly appreciate you
Ask him the wrestling question. Come on, ask him the wrestling question.
Okay.
Real quickly.
All right, can you give us this answer in 30 seconds or less? Here you go.
Sure.
Your wrestling question. If the Redskins were a pro wrestler on either WWE or TNA, which wrestler would they be?
Oh, man, that is a very, very tough question. I'm going to go with the Cowboy James Storm. I'm going to go with a scrapper, an underdog, a guy that was kind of labeled as a tag team wrestler that is now broken out and become a heavyweight champion contender. I think they embody a lot of the things that the Cowboy does. I'll go with James Storm from Impact Wrestling.
I like it.
I find it interesting, though, that Cowboy made its way into this
I know,
conversation.
shocker, huh?
I'm just saying.
I
Chad,
like it.
All right, settle down, you two.
Chad, we greatly appreciate it. Be sure to listen to Chad and LeVar Arrington weekday afternoons on 106.7 The Fan. Happy holidays to you, sir.
You too. Merry Christmas to you both. Thank you very much for having me on.
Thanks for coming on.
This is Fourth and Paint. We'll be right back.